Absolutely phenomenal morning. This is your Breakfast with the Brand. I am your host, Shaan Rais, as always, flanked by the phenomenal Bobby Jackson and Junior Frederick. Listen, guys, this is still the first quarter. This is still the first quarter. That's what we're going to be talking about primarily. Where are you at? Middle of the month, second month, first quarter. Where are your numbers at? Where are your clients at? How is your business really doing? Let's talk about it, gentlemen. How's everybody feeling this morning?
Absolutely phenomenal as usual, Sean. It is an absolutely beautiful Saturday morning. Yesterday was very hot, very, very hot on the island. And that normally means we're going to get a lot of rain. So I'm like just sort of looking at it. But right now it's all sunny skies, blue skies, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, for those people who don't know what you're talking about, where's the island that you're talking about?
Oh, I'm talking about St. Lucia, the lovely island of St. Lucia. Sean,
Okay.
just a quick fact. Did you know that St. Lucia is the only country in the world named after a woman? Did you know
No, I
that?
did not.
So all my independent and powerful women looking, you definitely want to come to St. Lucia. That's right.
Let's go. Let's go. Bobby Jackson, how's everything over there, brother?
Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I was looking at our numbers today or yesterday, and we're up 100%. 100%. So the quarter is already starting off great. I'm really excited about what we're going to be able to do this year, and I'm excited to hear what everybody else has got going on this year. But up 100%. It's only 2 months in. Got a lot of runway to go. A lot
A
of
lot
work.
of runway to go. For those guys who don't know, if you're late to the brand, not like an early entrant, don't know what we're talking about, Bobby Jackson has done 400% revenue increase every single year. For the past 3 years, Bobby's been on 400% revenue increase every single year. So that looks like 100% revenue growth, 100% bit. Okay, so let me just really, really clarify this, right? We're not talking about clients. We're not talking about motivation. We're not talking about inspiration. We're talking about revenue percentages, money percentages. The only place where you really can tell what's going on in your business, the scoreboard, the dashboard, revenue percentages, first quarter, 100%. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful year for you, man.
It does. It really does. I'm excited.
Very good, very good. So, guys, I want you to compare and contrast. Compare and contrast your numbers. Like, where are you at? And when I say compare and contrast, don't compare as far as competition compare. We're here to help you. So compare as far as collaborative compare. Make a collaborative comparison. Where am I at? Bobby Jackson came into the brand 3 years ago on Branded Like a Leader, the very first program that we ever did, that we ever launched during the worst economic time in history and biological. It was like warfare, crisis emergency. Nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew what was happening next. And we launched Branded Like a Leader so that you could leverage your leadership in business. Some people got sent home from the workforce. Luckily, some people never had to go back. Some people never had to go back. And if you want that to be you moving into Q2, then when we come back, we're going to talk about branding you, not what we do, and how to attain those 100% revenue increases, 100% business increases. This is your Breakfast with the Brand. I am your host, Shaan Rais. Again, guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. We'll be right back. When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted. and people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're gonna add a zero to the world, but you'll also add a zero to your revenue. Let's grow. So when you're young, mommy tells you to play nice. Play nice, Timmy. Let all of the other kids play too. But in business, it's not about playing nice. In business, it's about winning. It's about adding multiple zeros to your revenue. Now, of course, your staff wins. And when you win, other people win. However, when it comes to competition, you absolutely must dominate. You can't play for participation, and you can't play just to get along or just to get by, because business is serious. Business will help you to change the world, or the world will change you. Your people will either win or your people will lose based on your level of leadership, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how much you know about dominating. All right, guys, so let's jump into it. Bobby, we're going to talk to you for a moment, because as the latest entrant, right, on this panel, as the latest entrant into business and business scale and adding a zero and consistent results, and actually what we just talked about on the break, winning and dominating in your vertical, what would you say is the first thing that people really have to do when it comes to that winning piece, when it comes to winning in their business? Like, let's say they're just starting out, they're where you were 3 years ago. What's the first step?
That first step that I took was be courageous and trust the process. Like when I first got started, I would get instructions and they would sound foreign. I'm like, I have no idea if this is going to work or not. Like, this doesn't even make sense. Go out here, add a zero to your number, say it with your chest. Don't worry, they'll pay for it. Don't blink, beat. You're like, what? Huh? What? And you really just have to be courageous. You have to get out there and get on the phones. You have to get out there and go live. You just got to do those things that may scare you to death a bit. But once you start doing them and you get going with them and you start executing the SOI piece, the speed of implementation, what you'll realize is that things work. And that's all I needed, because I'm a very intense person. So once I hit it and I got some results, I was like, okay. And then I hit it again and I got results again. And then the more I did that, the fear turned into focus. And then the focus continued to turn into results.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I like that. Can you give the people a little bit more, kind of flesh that out a little bit, and, give them your perspective on what that looks like? Like, what is their first move? Like, a lot of people are scared. A lot of people still have a job. Some people have 2 jobs. Like, what's the initial step? And then I'll come in on the back end and kind of bring it home before we go to the break.
Yeah, Sean. So I like the fact that you added in like different scenarios. So if you're working a job right now, like to me, one of the biggest mistakes people do is they just leave their job. So guys, the first step is not leaving your job. Okay, you don't need to leave your job to grow a business. You don't have to do that, because you're gonna need a source of revenue, because it takes money to grow a business.
That's right.
Now, given that you're not making money as yet, you don't want to like run out of money. So you need to keep your job while you build your business. So let me just clarify that. But in terms of the first actual step, it's just to make a step. Like there are infinite ways to get to the same reality, right? You just have to take the first step. But normally, I would say, if you really look at it, Sean, so what Bobby was talking about building competence, or rather building confidence. Bobby was able to convert his competence into confidence. So he said, and you could just see the way that his face lit up. So he's like, well, yeah, I started getting results and da 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 da. So in the beginning, what people have to understand is that number one, they could absolutely achieve anything they want. That's number one. But number two, it's about action and results. If you don't have the results, you have to put in more action to get the same results. But if you already got the results, you may be able to get the same results with less action because you have leverage. That's a very, very simple math equation. So very simply, you have to find out what is the thing that you need to do and you have to do like 10x or whatever, like an exorbitant amount of whatever you think you need in order to build that competence. Because I guarantee you, whatever you think it takes, like Sean always says, you need to add a zero on the back of that. And we see this all the time. Clients come in, they want to start getting leads. We say reach out to people, let them know what you're doing. They reach out to 10 people and then they get discouraged. You know, you need to reach out to 100 people because whatever you think it takes more than you think it takes. I guarantee you. But that's only in the beginning. So what happens is as you start to work more, you start to develop competence, you make less mistakes and you're more targeted, Sean. And what happens is it takes you less time to achieve the same results. And that's how you build confidence, competence. And that's what you need to do. You just need to make that step. But here's the other thing too. You can save yourself, the time and the effort by finding a mentor or a coach who has gone the road that you've gone before. Success leaves clues. Everybody knows that. You can either spend time, money, or effort. If you spend money with a mentor, the mentor saves you time and they save you effort. If you don't spend the money, then you have to expense more time and more effort to get the same results. So the question is up to you. Like, what would you like to do? Would you like to go the long road and take maybe 5 times the amount of time it would have taken you to get there? Or would you like to pay for leverage and get there in less time with less effort, less frustration, and less stress? So if you can afford to, I would tell somebody number one, find somebody who has gone the road that you want to go right now. Pay that person to be your mentor so you can get leverage and achieve the same results with less effort in a quicker amount of time and less resistance. And that's what I'm going to say.
Very good. Very good. So I'm going to take it all the way back. Let's say you don't have the revenue, or at
Yeah.
least you believe that you don't. If you're in a disempowered state, which means you believe that you don't have the money and you don't have the resourcefulness yet or the resilience to figure that out, because that's kind of where I was. I had all of the resourcefulness in the world, but I didn't recognize it. I didn't realize it. I didn't understand it. I had to convert base metals into gold, and the base metals were inside of me. So the very first thing that I did was I took an assessment. Literally and figuratively. I did Colby, I did the DISC assessment, I did Clifton Strengths, I did all of the leadership assessments that you could possibly imagine. And then I also did an assessment of who I was. What was it about me? What was it about me that I could turn into gold? What was the base metal? What were the things? What were the intersections of interest? What were people interested about in me that could be turned into an investment? I had to do a values assessment. And when I say a values assessment, I don't just mean what I valued, but how was I value able? How was I able to produce value? This is very important because a lot of people try to do, what Junior said and go grab leads and go grab people and hurry up and hit the ground running. And they wonder why it's not working for them. But it's not working for them because they're trying to be Sean East, or they're trying to be Bobby Jackson, or they're trying to be Junior Frederick, or they're trying to be all of the 100 other names that you see when you think of success online. So I want you to take a quick break from the run and the race, right? Take a quick break from the run and the race, get off of YouTube after this call, and just take out a sheet of paper and write down what it is about you that everybody else says about you. What did you get in trouble for? What did you get in trouble for? Because I tell people this when I speak live. I say that I have had that special seat outside of the principal's office for speaking since the second grade. Since the second grade, I got in trouble for speaking. Before I went to school, Sean, you talk too much. Sit down. Shh, stop moving. Guys, keep your kids away from Sean. Sean's going to take them somewhere. He's going to lead them somewhere. Why? Because he's going to convince them, because he's very influential and persuasive. Well, let this guy start talking. The smooth talker.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I did the assessment, I was like, dominating, leadership, determination, confidence, influential, persuasive, influencing, gregarious, talkative. I said, okay, I can remember that. I can remember getting in trouble. I said, well, and what do you do? And this is the key, guys. This is the real key, right? What do you do easily that other people find excruciating? What gives you energy? Yes, ma'am. Cordelia says charismatic on LinkedIn. Yes, ma'am. Extremely. Extremely. Now, watch this. This was other people's interpretation of me. It was not my interpretation of myself. I come from Harlem, where talking gets you in trouble. So as I grew up, I learned not to talk a lot. I learned not to smile. I learned not to be social. I was conditioned to be other than absolutely phenomenal. So this took like 20 years of work. I want you guys to understand this. It's the thing that you forget about yourself, that you need to remember about yourself. It's the thing that most of society probably told you to stop doing or that you shouldn't be doing. Like raising your voice, like being a leader, like believing in yourself strongly. Those are the things that are those intangibles that will lead you to success in business. Because when I got out of my mind and what was in front of my face, as far as what society structured around me, the parameters of behavior, the constructs of society, when I got out of that and I said, listen, I got nothing to lose and everything to gain. I have a wife who loves me. I have children who need me. I really need to show up as my best self. And when I pulled all that stuff back and I went deep into me, I found out that I really, really love to speak. And based on other people's opinions, I'm pretty good at it. I don't have to script. It comes off the top of my head. I speak from my heart comfortably. I speak in my sleep. Like I literally am on stage giving a presentation in my sleep. I'm really, really comfortable speaking. And when I looked at it, I said, wow, 99% of the world finds this as the worst fear under the sun. A lot of people would rather, like, fear of heights is something. Fear of jumping out of buildings and jumping out of moving planes, that's a fear. But the fear of speaking is even more fearful than that. People have a fear of death. And that's a real fear, growing old and dying. Like, that's a real fear. But really, if you look at it, people fear speaking more. So what do you do and what do you find easy? What gives you energy that makes other people terrified or that they find very difficult to do? That is your leadership leverage. When I discovered my leadership leverage, everything changed. I began to speak. I began to record myself in the basement of a job that I hated with a BlackBerry. And I began to get so much following on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. It was amazing. They loved it. And then I began to write, because writing is communication, right, guys? So communication is a real thing for me. I unlocked the key. I unlocked Pandora's box. And I began to write, and I wrote a book, The 7 Prerequisites to Success, Paramount Performance, Pathways to Paramount Performance, in less than 30 days. That's a pretty huge feat. 300 pages in less than 30 days. That's how passionate I was about communication and relating to people. That's my superpower. And all of my business models have surrounded that. the leadership piece, the determination piece, the competitive advantage. This is your competitive advantage, guys. When you unlock your key, when you unlock your gift, when you really unwrap that gift box and you discover what's inside of you that has been there, that has been planted in there since before you were born, that's how you add a zero to you. We'll be right back. This is The Breakfast with the Brand. There's slow growth and then there's scale. There's incremental growth and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 + 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 + 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 + 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 + 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you, you can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence, add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. From Harriet Tubman to Sojourner Truth, to Rosa Parks, we have always been on a freedom run. Your LLC, your S Corp, C Corp, your business entity is what's going to give you the ability to go from your job, your industry wages, your 9 to 5, to the life of your dreams and the dream of your life. This is about you attaining all of the things that you could only possibly imagine and that our ancestors saw as not even being possible. Your freedom run? This is your freedom run. This is your moment. We're going to show you how to establish yourself as a business entity so you can go and come as you choose. There was a time when we needed permission slips to go from plantation to plantation. When you get a little bit older, you need permission slips to go from class to class. And when you get a little bit older, you get a vacation for 2 weeks and then you have to come back after 2 weeks to your job, right? That's what they call it now, the 9 to 5, the gig. You might you work for 50 weeks and you get 2 off. The freedom run is when you establish your LLC and you're free for the rest of your life. All right, guys. So trust me. When you go deep inside of yourself, when you go back to your youth, there is something that lights you up inside and creates that freedom piece for you. And as you just saw, I could speak about it for the next 5 days. No breaks. No, I don't need sleep. Speaking gives me life and it gives me energy. You need to find what gives you life and gives you energy. And once you find that, I promise you, the game is over. People will join around you, follow you, because you become the you become the plug. You become the plug. What gives you energy, you'll find out, gives everybody else energy too.
100%, Sean. So I'm thinking about this while you're talking. And I wrote down a word and I wrote down alignment. So that's the word I wrote down, alignment. And I'm just thinking to myself how everybody has different speaking styles and everybody, they communicate in a different way. And just in hindsight, it's amazing how when you sit back and you go back over your life, when you reminisce, how you could see how those little dots connect. I know I definitely had a moment where I was thinking like, what is my gift? What am I meant to do? Why am I here? And I'm sure we've all had these questions, right? Put a number 1 in the comments if you've had these questions as well. And what really gave me clarity was the ability to go back into the past and to see how the present aligned with the past. And it's so amazing. There's a saying that life never happens to you, life is always happening for you. And when you start to look back and you start to think, like, why was I this way when I was young? Why did I behave in that way? Why did I do this? Why did I naturally gravitate towards this? And why do I do what I do right now? And how do the two connect? Then it's absolutely amazing what you find. I'll talk for myself. When I consider speaking, Sean, when I consider communication, I used to think about a speaker to be somebody like, let's say, an ET, like very motivational, and that's the way most of us think speaking is. But then I also look at other phenomenal communicators that are not necessarily motivational, they're not necessarily rah-rah, they're more calm, they're more collected, they're more poised, if that makes sense. Some of them even stutter. In fact, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it said that the speakers who stutter just a little bit, their speeches tend to come off as more authentic. Like the crowd receives it as more authentic than the speakers who are completely smooth. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that
They're
interesting?
raw. They can relate more.
Yeah, it's more relatable. And so what that did for me was that sort of it gave me a different perspective and allowed me to see that, guys, we're all speakers. Every single one of us has a story. Every single one of us, we have something within us. We have some form of alignment, something to tell, something to share with the world. Okay, and that's why I started speaking a little bit more. But most importantly, every single one of us has our own speaking style and our own speaking voice. And when you find that, it's amazing what you could unlock, not just for yourself, but for other people as well.
Yeah. You know, I was called, I don't, it wasn't necessarily talkative. I was a questioner. I asked a lot of questions. Growing up, I asked a lot of questions in school. I asked a lot of questions everywhere. And for me, I think that has played a huge part in how I am as a person. Like I am very skeptical to a degree, but I'm not necessarily superstitious. So for me, when it comes to what is my superpower and how that superpower has translated into 400% revenue growth year after year after year, I have found that one of my superpowers is asking questions. You would be surprised how many people are afraid to look silly, are afraid to ask a question, are afraid. I was so how Shaan was told to be quiet, hey, pipe down, stop talking so much. Like I was told at boot camp, stop asking so many questions. You like I was in the dental chair and they were opening the getting ready to remove some of my wisdom teeth. And literally I sat and I think I asked that lady like 10, 15 questions. Why are you taking this tooth out? Which one are you taking out? How far does it go back? How long is this going
Mhm.
to take? How long am I going to be out? And I'm just asking this person a million questions. And they're like, you might want to figure out how to shut your mouth if you're going to survive boot camp. And like, that's how she was like, if you keep asking these kinds of questions, you're toast. And pretty much it's funny how people try to box you in, try to close you off. But when it comes to closing, that's something I kind of gravitated to naturally because it was a question asking process. How can I help you? What do you need? What are you looking for? And it's just a series of asking questions. And it's really interesting how you can really stumble upon who you are. And once you stumble upon that, you lean into it and it starts to produce these results for you that are unequivocal and you really start to lean into it. So as I get ready to pass it over to Shaan, one of the things that I wrote down was take a quick break from the run and the race. So that was something Shaan was saying before. And then I followed that with being a questioner and being skeptical. So for you, I would say take a break from what people have told you, so to speak, that you should be. And just think about who you feel like you are. Because I have found personally that growth, development, maturity is a matter of removing things that are not you versus adding a bunch of things to you that make you some person. So just take a break, from the race, from the YouTubes and all the Googling, so to speak, and just sit with yourself and go through that process of how do I show up naturally, authentically, comfortably, and just take that road for a second and see where it leads you. And you might stumble upon something that's like, I can make money with this. And that was
Very
my
good. Very good. Very good. So I like I like what everybody said right now, but I want to make something extremely, extremely clear. And I think Bobby began to scratch the surface of that. Your gift doesn't have to be speaking. Your gift does not have to be communicating. Everybody's gift is their own. And I love what Junior said about everybody's having their own style of speaking, right? Because speaking is communicating. You kind of have to do that, even if it's hand gestures. You have to communicate with other people. Nobody's on a planet by themselves. However, your superpower might be systems. If you were the kind of child that pulled things apart to see their insides, like literally pulled the radio apart to see how it worked on the inside, then systems might be your thing. And systems are my kryptonite, just so that we're clear, just so that we're abundantly clear. And this is what I mean. My gift, my superpower is kryptonite for other people. They look at me in amazement, like I've got a cape on and like I'm flying. And they say, I don't understand how you speak so comfortably in front of people, so naturally, like you didn't write down anything. And I say, well, that's because I didn't. And then they're even more amazed. But I am amazed at people who take things apart and put them back together. I am amazed by people who can sit with the inside. Like to me, it's like I would go to sleep 5 times instead of looking inside of a CRM and figuring out how to create an email sequence. Now, I sent emails, but I sent them fast and I sent them rapidly. I did not set up a sequence or anything. That I did everything the hard way. Just so that we're on the same page. It took me longer to perform what it would take someone else like a junior to do in 5 minutes. It'd take me sometimes 5 hours because that's his gift zone. That's his zone of genius. It's my zone of disempowerment. Whereas speaking is my gift zone. I'd fly. I read comfortably. I don't care where I'm going. I don't care what stage I'm speaking at. I don't care who I'm speaking to, what the audience looks like. As soon as I get in and I see them from the stage, I'm locked in, dialed in, and I know what I'm going to say. Comfortably. I kind of emote. I kind of feel the energy in the room and the energy of the people. I'm intuitive. I'm also interactive. I'm also introspective. So what I say will be deep as if I studied it and memorized it for days or weeks or months or years. Now, another thing that I have a gift for is deep, deep study and putting things that are opposing together. That's one of the things that I'm good at. I'm good at synthesizing things that appear to be diametrically opposed on the fly immediately. One of the things that I'm very, very good at is taking the best practices from other industries that are non-related and bringing them into our industry and creating breakthroughs for my clients in ways and things that they've never seen before and no one else is doing. And that's how they that's how they go from the best kept secret to the only viable option. I create a competitive advantage for my clients that no one else has seen and no one else can compete with. I help them to become the only viable option in their vertical, a North Star. And then other people begin to follow them. That's creativity. It's also competition on a whole nother level, because competition on a whole nother level is not competition. It's domination. And you don't want to win by competing, because if you're number one, that means you got number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and all the way to 1,000 gunning for you. That means you have competition. What I'm talking about is becoming different, differentiated. They call it in an MBA program, they would say differentiation. In marketing, you want to create a unique, viable proposition for your clients and for your marketing that gives you a difference. Different is better than best. We'll be right back. This is The Breakfast with the Brand. I hope you're learning something. I tell people all the time, I say coaching is a future-focused, goal and action-oriented process. Emphasis on action and emphasis on process. We're going to show you how to not just coach like a leader, but to create your organization with a coaching culture. And then create your community of high-level clients who need and respect your ability to coach them on a high level. So again, this is not consultation. Consultation is being the expert. You do not have to be the expert in a vertical to be a coach in that vertical. What you do have to do is ask open-ended questions. What you do have to do is have active listening. Listen, when you get done with this course, you're gonna be a master coach, a master executive coach. You can use this in whatever vertical you want to. If you want to do life coaching, this will help you. If you want to coach clients, coach teachers, coach students, this will help you. If you want to be an evidence-based executive coach and only work with professionals, that's what this program is going to allow you to do. But it's also going to help you to add a 0 to the back of your number because you will know what you're doing. This is not hype. This is not motivation. This is evidence-based. This is factual-based, data-based, driven by science, and exalted by performance. The reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaway just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just a very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. I said Shaan East. I'm proud. I said Shaan East. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire and heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. Business is like a game of chess. It's not checkers. If you don't know how to lead with a personal brand, then you're losing the battle.
Everything about Shaan's talk was fantastic. I mean, I got so much from it.
So he was really bringing fire and passion and just love and spirit to let everybody else know how do you become a leader amongst the leaders.
You hold the key in your hand. There is more power in this phone than there was that took the first man to the moon.
His energy, his dynamic information, gave a really great presentation.
I didn't ask for any money. I didn't have an offer. I had a heart to help people and meet them where they were at and find their need and fulfill it.
Shaan is the bomb.
I don't talk theory. I don't talk hyperbole. I don't talk opinion. Nothing I talk is anything but evidence-based.
During the G-Circle retreat in Atlanta, I had the pleasure and the honor of listening to Mr. Shaan Rais. He will not only impact your organization, but he will elevate your team to another level.
When you change you, when you put you into the equation, the whole system is different. I guarantee you, you got the right thing. You are the right person. If you can present yourself in the best way possible, there's no negotiation.
His energy is infectious, and I have so many takeaways from the presentation that I can't wait to get started and implement them today to see the result.
All right. So guys, as you can see, I am like in my gift zone speaking. I'm in my natural zone. You've seen multiple different demographics. You've seen multiple different audiences, natures, religions, probably races, different settings, professional, business. It doesn't make a difference. All of it lights me up inside, gives me such a rush of energy. I don't need to have a drink. I don't need to do any of that stuff. Like the dopamine hit comes from the audience, comes from the crowd. This is why we do this. I've centered my entire business around communication and speaking effectively as much as I possibly can. When you find your gift and genius zone, you will do this effortlessly, and you will scale your business because you will not outshine. You will differentiate yourself in your business than anyone else at all. There will be no competition, and you will exist as the only viable option in your vertical, as a North Star. You will seek to collaborate while other people are intimidated by you and think that you're competitive. You will be completely comfortable in your skin, and you will completely dominate your vertical effortlessly because you're really just being your natural self. That's the key. Start there with what you have. That's why I say brand you and not what you do. Do we coach? Definitely. Do we consult? Definitely. Do we have courses? 100%. 100%. Do we market? Do we help people? Do we build people's websites and help launch them? Yes, all 100%. But what is the key core component? There's 3 C's. I spoke about them the other day on this call. 3 C's. I am super effective, and I find my passion in connecting with people. Connecting. Why? Because I get to speak. I get to influence. I get to be influential. I get to be persuasive. I get to find out things. I'm very inquisitive too, Bobby. I want to know everything.
Yeah.
I promise you, I want to know everything so I can fix a problem. I'm inquisitive. I want to be valuable. I want to add value. I want to be able to add value to every situation. That's why I've got 3 master's degrees. That's why I'm doing 2 doctorates. Not so I can say that I got the stuff on the wall. No, so that I can fix a problem for you. So I can help you. I can add value to you. I'm able and capable. When I connect, it makes a difference. When I communicate, I light people up and give them massive energy. When I convert someone, when I bring someone into a program, they end up getting 400% revenue increase year after year after year, and 100% complete business increase in the form of tangible revenue in less than the first quarter. That's what I'm excited about. That's what lights me up. You need to find what lights you up. And if you need help with that, we can help you with that. But either way, if you don't find this, business is going to be very, very hard. When naturally done right, it should be very, very easy.
So Shaan, I wrote down creation over collaboration over competition. So creation over competition. So I don't want to get too technical now. We can go into the technical part about what Shaan spoke about, and just so if you're looking at me for the first time, my superpower, I would say, is a little bit of systems, right, Shaan?
That's right.
But I just see things in a different way, and I'll give you a little story about me, right? So back in the day, now I'm from an island, so I don't know what you would call that grade in your country. I know most of us are from the US, most of us looking, but Shaan, I could remember once. I was always an avid reader as a kid. And one day I sat at the back of the class and I was reading. I was just reading a book while the teacher was teaching. I was reading a novel. I used to love mystery novels. So I was reading my mystery novel, the teacher's teaching. And then finally she comes over. She said, "What are you doing?" Oh, I said, "Oh, I'm reading." And I said that, all smile. And she's like, "Well, I'm teaching." I said, "No problem." I said, "No problem. That's fine." So she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm reading." She said, "I'm teaching." I said, "No worry, I have it. That's okay." I said, "No worry." Then she turns to me, she says, "Mr. Frederick, you can either pay attention to what's on the board, or you can take your book and you could go outside." I said, "Yeah." I said, "No problem." So I packed up my little book. I took my lunch bag and I went outside. I came back and I placed first in my class. That's the kind of person I am. It's because I can see all the lines in the matrix. You know what I mean? I can see those lines. So that's sort of my thing. I'm always over prepared. So while she's teaching, I'm onto something else. I'm already on something else. Like, you guys are too slow. I'm already doing something else. And I think creation over competition is very important. Like, when you find your sweet spot, you create. You don't compete. You don't compete. You create. You create something new. In marketing, I'll give you guys a term and you could look this up. It's called marketplace protection. That's what Shaan's actually talking about. Marketplace protection is literally the only form of protection we really have in the market. And what that means is that you brand something so well that other people seem silly trying to do what you do. Like, they just know that's just not you. So it's like if you went to another influencer and they were saying, "Brand you, not what you do," and you've already encountered Shaan. Let's say you already met Shaan, you knew who Shaan was, and the other influencer was saying, "Brand you, not what you do," or "Add a zero," or stuff like that. Then if you knew who Shaan was, they look pretty silly. They look silly without, like, if they said that without giving Shaan credit, or without giving anybody credit, without giving you credit, right? So if you branded yourself and you branded certain things that you said and the way that you move, and you just branded your culture and you put that on display, the marketplace will protect you. So when somebody tries to say something or do something that you do, people will call them out and say, "Hey, you're trying to be Shaan, or you're trying to be Tia, or you're trying to be Michelle," or she's, "Oh, that's what." So Michelle says something. She says, "Live inspired, free, and transform." So if I went somewhere else and I had somebody talking about, living inspired, free, and transform, I look at them like, "What are you, what are you talking about? That's Michelle. That's not you." And we call that marketplace protection. And you can only get that kind of protection when you brand you and not what you do. There are many people who will do what you do, but nobody could do it quite like you, right? So there are many marketers. Not every marketer is from St. Lucia, okay? Not every marketer has my background. They don't have my story, etc., right? So that's what Shaan is talking about. Now, Shaan says it in a more passionate and big picture way. I'm more logical. So you have to combine the passion and the logic with the emotion and bring it in a nice way together. So that's what he's talking about. But absolutely, and Sean, moving into the era that we're in, this new era, like really and truly, that is the only way to stay alive. You notice that the power is now shifting from, let's say, the people who used to hide behind the curtain, and the power has been given to the people with the most influential voices. Particularly in America, we see a lot of stuff going on when it comes to free speech, people being able to say what they want, people being able to impact the masses. If you have a brand right now, then you're in the absolutely best position. And if you don't, you're still in the best position because you actually have an opportunity right now to begin building your brand.
Man, you know, I love everything that we've talked about this morning. As I'm looking at my notes and I've got some things to go back and look over, I just want to talk about kind of my superpower bit, how mine works together. And I think this is just to give some more perspective, because it's interesting when you've seen how Shaan uses his, you've seen how Junior uses his, I'll show how I use mine. And I think as you think about the different angles that people use their superpowers, you may start to get a better understanding of how you might be able to use yours. So for me, I'm what you call like a high C, high I, meaning that I have a engaging personality. I like to communicate, to speak with people and engage. And I'm also a calculated and intellectual person. Very interesting. I was the guy that took things apart. I took beepers apart back when beepers were a thing, believe it, showing my age, which isn't really that old, but I took apart beepers and cell phones and all that kind of stuff. And I like to see how things tinker, but it all boiled back to my questioning. I needed to know. Like there is something about me that just needs to know. And I'll take things apart. I will put them back together. I'll break it. I'll fix it. And I just needed to know. I was also a wordsmith. So I liked to communicate. In my past life, I was a musician, a rapper. So I played the keyboard and the guitar, and I sing and I rap. And all of those things have to do with patterns. So I liked chords and I liked music and tones and pentatonic scale. So my brain thinks in music, we call it a call and response. So when you're playing on a guitar, and we're not going to get into it, but I just want you to see how my mind works so you can see how yours might start to work. So in music, a call might be when you play a certain note and it rings out. And then you may have a response where you play another note and it may create tension, or it may create what we call a resolve. It brings the score to a resolution. And all of those different things have to do with how I think, who I am, and the way I question things. So for me, when I got into business and I started to develop things, and what I think really made me gain traction and hit the ground running, is I just kept asking questions. And I kept asking questions. If I didn't know something, my hand was the first one to go up. I remember when we would have the calls back, oh man, it's funny, I won't say back in the day, but like we used to have the calls a few years ago, and I would be on the call, and every time I would ask a question, I would get better and better at asking questions. And I'm telling you, I get an MBA with every response, because Shaan would always say the quality of your question determines the quality of your answer. And that was already a superpower of mine. So I'm planning my questions before they even get to that segment, but I'm not so focused on the question that I missed the material. But I'm just like, okay, boom, 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 and I'm taking my little notes off to the side. So what do you do, or what have you done your whole life, as we approach the last minute here, that you can start to weave? I think a great word is weave into your everyday business model and business structure, because that's what I think creates the energy that a lot of us are looking for. Because business is a very intense contact sport, right? So if you don't have a contact energy level that is perpetuated and sustainable, you may find yourself, giving out. But when you find that question, like there's always a question. I don't think there's a day that goes by where I'm not asking Shaan a question. It's very few far and in between where I don't have a question. And that's just my superpower. And it's served me 400% revenue growth well. And that was
every single year after year after year. Guys, I want to just bring it home real quick. You can tell when you're tapping into your gift because you can speak about it for days and days and days. Bobby just kind of gave you a tirade on chords and call and response. And I know sometimes you're like, what is he talking about? When people see you zone out, it's because you're approaching your zone of genius. And you get lit up and excited, even if nobody else understands what you're talking about. Yeah. And you could talk about it for days, weeks, months, and years. Junior just went into a whole story about reading the book in the class and the call and response between him and the teacher saying, okay, kid, take the book and get out of here, basically. And him being able to come back in the room and ace the test. That's because he could speak about that forever and ever and ever. You see it light up in the eyes and you see the physical. If you're good at reading body structures, then you can be a phenomenal coach because you can see when someone else lights up and you can capture that moment, take a screenshot and then give it back to them and inform them of their leadership leverage. When you discover this lever to your leadership, you will not only free yourself, but you will free everyone that you love and everybody that you come into contact with. Because when you exist and operate fully in your zone of genius, in your leadership leverage, you give other people the permission to do the same. This has been another phenomenal edition of the Breakfast with the Brand. I get extremely excited when we speak about this. And my whole goal is to help you find your leadership leverage so that you can dominate in your vertical as well. Let's grow.